Hello, John Talley here, live in the studio again, except we're on a Thursday this week. Keep in mind that we're going to be doing it next Thursday as well because the track beckons. I'm heading somewhere this weekend as well as next weekend as well. But we're going to be here on these two Thursdays, and just want to say thanks for dropping by. We're going to answer a few questions. I'm going to let a few more roll in. I would project that's probably going to be a little light today because of people being mostly used to me doing these little Q&A sessions on Fridays instead of Thursdays. But we will go ahead and dive straight in. Looks like there's a couple, 2 or 3, and then I can also jump back to some of the questions that I missed in the prior 2 sessions and get those answered as well. Now, I am kind of doing 3 things at once here because if you were with us last week, you notice how much trouble we were having with our audio and getting it to sync with the video. So I'm monitoring this laptop to see what it's up to, and then our IT department's looking as well. Now, you probably didn't want to know all that, but if I seem to be a little bit scatterbrained, that would be why. Well, more scatterbrained than usual. But at any rate, let's get over here and answer some questions. Jake is asking me, hey John, I have a question about the VTX 1800R. I'm smelling fuel in my oil from my most recent oil change. I'm thinking the fuel filter needs to be replaced, but I haven't had much luck locating where it is. Well, I know that on the VTX 1800, the fuel pump / filter is actually in 2 different locations depending on the year. And I can't remember which one came first, but I know at one point it was basically right at the pivot point of the rear suspension, and then it was either there first or it was actually inside of the tank. Now, if it is inside of the tank, your fuel filter is going to be at the back side of the pump where it draws through. Down low, I believe it is integral to the pump itself. But what you can do is take your exact year, model, and make and plug it into our website, and it's going to give you the exploded diagrams, and it's going to show you right where it is. So instead of taking my word for it, go to the website, partzilla.com, put in your year, make, model, go to the fuel system, and it's going to show you where it is. All right, Amal is saying, hola, ¿qué tal? And he's also saying too early. Well, or maybe it's too late, depending on which time zone you're in. But thanks for joining us. I assume it's early in the morning wherever you are. Joe is asking me, hello, 2007 Honda CBR 600RR. I'm about to start the valve clearance check. How do you release the tension on the cam chain tensioner if I don't have the Honda tool? Is there a homemade solution? Now, Joe, I may be confusing which tensioner I'm working with, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. On the Honda, there should be a 10mm bolt which you can take off, and that is basically just a cap. Now, down inside of there, you can get in just a regular flat blade screwdriver, but it needs to be a pretty small one. And I think to draw the tensioner out, you would unscrew it, and that would actually pull the tensioner back, and that will release the tension on your chain. So without the tool, it's really not that big of a deal. Just a screwdriver should do it. I believe I have the correct procedure in my head. Halo God Phil 3, 2010 Bill Balance 450X, one of my favorite machines. I'm replacing the radiator. Is there anything tricky, or just pull it out and put a new one in? It shouldn't be that tough. Basically, it's just like doing a regular fluid replacement, radiator fluid replacement. Just make sure you use the right fluid. Resist the temptation of going in and buying the green stuff from the local auto parts store. Go ahead and put the OEM stuff in there, and I think you'll come out with a much better product. But no real trick. Just make sure you bleed it carefully. I know that we've done a couple of different, I know exactly which one you need to go see. We actually did a top end on a 450R, which is a 2009, which is going to be very similar to your 450X, just not as narrow. Go check out that video for the guys, if you would drop it in the chat, he can go see the bleeding process, because when we did the top end, of course, you have to drain the fluid out of it, and you just need to go through the same procedure I did on our 450R. Jake's saying mine is an 02. Well, like I said, jump over there and look it up on the website, and it's going to show you where that fuel filter is. Joe is saying, is it true that if I upgrade my air filter to a K&N, I have to get the fuel commander installed? Not necessarily. I've seen plenty of machines come through and either they'll do just a K&N filter or maybe a slip-on exhaust. Your ECU has a certain amount of percentage of fuel trim that it can adjust to that would get it in compliance as far as your air-fuel ratio. So just going to a K&N air filter, now your machine can compensate for that. I mean, that's what the ECU does. It learns what's going on from that little O2 sensor down in your exhaust header pipe, and it's going to adjust accordingly. You are welcome, Jake. Baby Bash, hola, amigo, hola. Joe, well, thank you, not a problem. Baby Bash is saying, I'm from Mexico, and it's difficult to find pieces for GSR 1000, 2002. Why so? Guys, are we not shipping internationally yet? Go take a look at our site and see if we can help you out. If we are indeed shipping internationally again. I'm not sure if we are or not. All right, Josh is asking me, I have an 05 RMZ 250 with carb issues. It bogs when I open the throttle very fast. I can't seem to figure it out. One of the first things I would want to check, if you haven't changed anything else, is potentially the fuel level height inside of the bowl. Typically, if it doesn't have enough to draw up, it'll cause it to bog down. So I would check that first. The only other thing would be your main air fuel screw to see if it's been adjusted in or out. That could cause it as well. So take a look at those first two and then tell me what you find. All right, Tyrese is asking me, hey John, I have a 1996 Honda 300EX 4-track. That is a bulletproof machine. I think they quit making it because they wanted to sell new ones eventually. And it's leaking oil out of the top end. Uh-oh. Does that hint that it's going to need a top end rebuild? Well, it depends on where it's leaking from. Now, typically on those, of course, when they get up in years, there's a couple of different O-rings. Two, where your valve cover access ports are. They're just going to be a couple of O-rings. If those have gotten flattened out or if they're getting old and brittle, it'll leak from there. And then you have the valve cover itself, and I believe that is just a metal gasket on that particular Honda, and you may or may not need to put Honda Bond up around it. Now, if it's leaking down lower than that, let's say in between your head and the cylinder itself, well then yeah, you're probably going to have to go through and at least do the head gasket at a bare minimum. But I need to know more, or you need to figure out more accurately where the oil is coming from. When I'm trying to run down a leak like that, I usually get some of the brake cleaner with the engine cooled off, of course, and the flames around. Don't start it shortly thereafter. Spray down the engine, get it cleaned up, and then take it out for a spin, and then see if you can see where it's leaking from. Because don't let a leak up top fool you into thinking it's got a problem on the head gasket when it's actually starting up here and just pooling down below. I've made that mistake before. So get it cleaned up and then take a peek at it. I'm now just looking to see how our transmission is going. I haven't seen any red flags yet. So maybe, just maybe, we're going to make it through this one without issue. That would be nice. Pulling what little hair I have out left. All right. G. Bali is saying, John Talley, you rock, sir. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Your videos make my 2012 CBR 600 suite all the way from Nigeria. Well, thanks for joining us from Nigeria. Glad to have you here. All right, Josh said I adjusted the bowl and air screw. Okay. Logan's is asking me, hey John, I'm looking to buy a 2008 Kawasaki KFX 450R. Anything to know before I buy one? Any good upgrades for them? There's a lot of different upgrades for that machine, and it is a strong machine. We actually did a short video on what to look for when you're buying a used ATV, and more than anything, you want to focus in on the pivot points. You want to look at the frame very carefully, make sure that it hasn't been damaged or isn't bent. And there's certain telltale signs you can look for. Guys, if you would drop that video in the chat, and let's give Logan's an idea of what to look for. I mean, if the guy's open to it, or girl, depending on who owns it, if he's open, the best thing you can look for is to do a compression test on it real quick, and that'll at least give you a small snapshot of what's going on. It's not as accurate as leak down test, but I doubt he's going to let you go through that procedure, and unlikely that he has an air compressor in his garage. But guys, drop that video in there so Logan's can take a peek at it. Ian is asking me, my 2003 400EX blew the head and cylinder gasket. Whew. Would it be necessary to replace the top end and piston rings when I replace gaskets? Now, if you're just doing the cylinder head itself, I would say no, but the only thing I want to question is that gasket let go for a reason. Why? Has the head gotten a little too hot and warped? So when you go to pull it, go ahead and take it to a machine shop and have them measure the head. Make sure it doesn't need to be trued up a little bit before you put it back together. But no, unless you pull the ring or the actual cylinder off, you should be good to go. Now, if you do have to pull the cylinder off and the walls look okay and the piston isn't scuffed up too much, I mean, it's going to have a little wear on it. That's not the end of the world. You can just put the same size rings that it has in it right now, and just make sure you rehone the cylinder. You know, that is on a 450, so yes, you can rehone it because it doesn't have any of the Nicosil, coatings or anything like that. It's just a regular aluminum cylinder with a good old metal sleeve in there. Really easy to work with. Super dependable units. That puzzles me why yours let go unless you're running a high compression setup inside. Are you? Well, guys, I've almost caught up with y'all. So what I'm going to do is jump over to questions that I missed last week and the week before, since last week was really short as we were having technical difficulties, which today we seem to be swinging through without issue. Michael had asked me, what is the symptom that a stator is going bad? Well, one of two things. The stator is either sending too much voltage over to the regulator and rectifier section of it, or sending nothing. 9 times out of 10, it's not sending anything, or it's actually got 3 phases at 120 degrees, and one of the phases may be not functioning because it has burned through one of the windings on one of the coils. But it's going to end up looking weird at on your charger. You will not be getting a charge from your regulator rectifier. If you take a reading and it's like just barely above nominal battery voltage, well, that indicates that usually you've got either a problem with the regulator rectifier or the stator. Now, if your regulator rectifier checks out as far as the diodes and the static test, then you want to take an AC reading, which I think is the best way, on the stator. And depending on your machine, at roughly 1,500 RPMs to 2,000, you're going to be somewhere in between 25 and 35 volts AC. But that's the important thing, is to have your meter on AC. And I would tell the guys to drop that in the chat. I think I've been through it several times, showing you how to use an AC multimeter to do that test. So for other people that may have been curious how to do it, go ahead and drop it in there, and I can show you how to get through that testing procedure. All right, a couple of people have responded back. Tyrese came back, is coming from the valve cover. Well, that should be a really easy fix. If you would, just go to the website, go to your year, make, and model. It's going to show you the part number for that one particular gasket. And that should be the only thing you have to replace, is just the gasket. But while you're in there, I'd go ahead and do those O-rings for your the valve tappet covers, because I mean, it's not going to be that expensive. If you're ordering one part, might as well jump into that little shipping and get everything you need in one shot. Ian is telling me, no, I believe the person who owned it before used a head gasket maker. Oof. It didn't seal properly, and I did not notice until it started losing power. All right, sounds like it's going to be an easy fix then, as long as it didn't blow through and start damaging the head itself, which it should not have. You should be able to just order up another head gasket, torque it back down correctly, which we have done a top-end build on a 400EX. And guys, if y'all would drop that in there on the chat, we can walk Ian through the process of what he's going to need to do to get it put back correctly. All right, Mark is asking me, hey John, any suggestions of how to fix a jerky throttle on a 2018 Ninja 650? Okay, so that probably has the push-pull situation on your throttle. And what you're probably experiencing now that you've got a little bit of mileage on it is just slack in the throttle, and that's making it feel jerky. So there should be an adjustment in line on the cable itself, and I think it's on the pull side. And you're just going to need to break those two nuts loose and just tighten it up to where there isn't that much play. Now don't over tighten it because that's going to stress out your cables and or pull the throttle plates, and then then you'll have unintended cruise control. But it sounds like you just need to adjust your cables, and I can't remember which unit we've done that on. I'm sure that we probably have. Guys, if you remember where I've shown how to adjust the throttle cable, maybe it was on that KLR 650, drop that in, and maybe he can apply that same technique to adjusting his cable. PD947 is asking me, hey, I have a Yamaha Wolverine 350. If I put in the 4x4, it will make my front wheels straight again. Someone took out the 4x4 I bought. I'm not sure what you're asking me there. So are you telling me that somebody actually removed the 4x4 and it's not activating when you put it in? I'm not sure what you're asking me there, PD. All right. Davey was saying, dang, I got to go to work, just fix my, oh, dang, I just got to go to work. I just fixed my FP relay with your help. Well, you're very welcome. That is what we are here for. Oh, this is the one with the ABS problem fixed. I messed up the connector. Gotcha, understand. All right, part tap, thoughts on Chinese 125 ATVs. Aha. I mean, we laugh now, but at one point in time, we actually laughed about Japanese quality and build. So they're coming, guys. They are coming. But for right now, no, I don't think they can. I don't think they can hang against the big four, as I'm used to calling them. At least not yet, anyway. But they better watch out. Baby Bash is asking me, on the GSXR 1000 2002, my ECU blew up, so I bought a new one and did the same thing. Oof. The mechanics told me that it could be the regulator rectifier, and the other one told me if I put an LED light in the main system. I would be more of the opinion that it's probably your regulator rectifier, and we've done a bunch of different videos as far as shows how to test one. I mean, if you do a static battery test and it's around 12.6, 12.7, then you start it up and rev it up a little bit, and it's going past 14.5 volts DC, you probably got a problem. I mean, if it's sending out voltage 15, 15.5, 16, 17, yeah, that's what ate your ECU. So you definitely need to put a multimeter on there and see what it's doing before you spend several $100s more to get another ECU. Laughing dog elbow cough, okay? About what? You're very welcome. Yes, and my front wheels are not straight or slanted. Oh, so you're telling me he pulled the front differential? Well, yeah, that would make a mess out of things. Because if he pulled the CV joints, which he had to, then you basically don't have anything holding your front bearings inside of the hub. So, whew, yeah, you need to get that put back the way it was designed, or either change out your front hubs to a non-four-wheel drive unit. I mean, that's your only two choices there, but you can't run it like it is. Whew, that would It's not going to stay together very long or point the right direction as you're talking about. Oh boy, I've got a Suzuki GXR 1000 K6 with new Bridgestone S22s. How many bars should I fill it with? Greetings from Sweden. It shouldn't be super tire specific, but it will be temperature dependent. And also, are you tracking the machine? Because when you fill it up and you start running on the track, all that heat's going to get transferred through the tire into the air inside of the tire, and it's going to make it expand. So you want to keep that into account. As far as how many bars, I'm not really that good on the metric system. I'm used to PSI. But on your swing arm, it should have a small label that's going to give you the manufacturer's recommended PSI. And their memory serves, I believe it's 36 up front, 34 in the back. But don't take my word for it. Go look at that sticker I'm talking about on the swing arm, and that'll tell you how much pressure you should have in there. But do you take into account if you're running the machine hard, that temp's going to go up, make the tire expand. So. One more tiny little tweak. What, Tracy? What tweak do we need to make? All right, Ian is asking me, how could you tell if the head was warped on my 400EX? Well, it's pretty simple. What you need is a perfectly flat surface, and I've got one sitting over there. And you'll clean it up. You'll set it on the surface, and take a feeler gauge and go around it. And you wouldn't want if you can get a feeler gauge into any area, it shouldn't be more than a thousandths or two, because you want that to be really flat. So, but that would be how you do it. You just put it on wrong chat, no problem. You just put it on a flat surface and then just probe it with a set of feeler gauges to see if it has any warpage to it. Logan's is also asking me, any good models of utility ATV? Looking at getting my 15-year-old sister into riding, and I don't want to start her off with a quad sport. Well, I agree with that, and I'm pretty sure at 15 you're going to be relegated to 90 cc's and down, and you want to take that into consideration when you're looking. If she's coming up on 16, I know that they move the age requirements from that point to a little bit larger unit. I don't remember exactly what cc you can go to, but I know at 15 and down, or 16 and down, you have to stay at 90 cc's. But if you go with anything from the big four, you can't go wrong, and Polaris included, Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki, or Polaris. Anything in that, any of their four-wheelers, especially on the utility side, are going to be good to go. It's just how much she wants to take on at first, because some of them are going to be automatic, some of them are going to be pushed to shift, some are going to be belt-driven, so it's really up to you. But any of the big four you can't go wrong with, but just make sure you don't exceed the recommended age requirements for ATVs. All right, Baby Bash is also asking me, before it blew the ECU, it sounded like one cylinder start to not work, and suddenly it shut off. The only thing it does, enters the fuel pump and won't start. It seems to be no spark. Yeah, it sounds like it pretty much destroyed most of your ECU from just sending too much voltage into it. So once again, check that. Once you get another ECU, and you have to do this really quick, and I almost don't want to tell you to try it this way, but I don't think you've got much of a choice. Do a static test on your regulator rectifier. See if you can go through, and no, I don't want to install that right now. See if you can go through and at least verify that your diodes are okay inside of the regulator rectifier, and then go from there. But if you do have to start it up with another ECU, check your voltage really quick and be ready to shut it off fast. I know you can pop an ECU almost immediately, so I give that recommendation with a little bit of trepidation. Be really careful, because I know how much those things cost. I don't care which model you're talking about. All right, Laughing Doll is asking me, my service manual says my steering head bearings need to be greased. I agree with that. Is this an easy job, or is it best to let the professionals do it? It's not that tough. Depending on which machine you're talking about, you're going to be releasing the triple clamps on a street bike or a motocross bike. This thing over here, when we took it apart, Well, it'll be interesting when we post the video, when we did the complete breakdown to get to just the raw frame. It was a 2005 and it had never been apart. It challenged me a little bit. So, but it's not that tough. But the biggest thing is go to the website, open up the exploded diagrams, and just lay out everything as you're taking apart and then put it back together. It's just the reverse. It's all about keeping things organized and laid out in order. And it shouldn't be that tough. What's the old saying? Amateurs built the Ark, professionals built the Titanic. All right, oh boy. By the way, do you sell a clutch basket for a Yamaha R1 2006? I would bet that we do, and if that happens to be an NLA, I would hazard to guess that we carry a Wiseco unit. So either one. If you're unsure which way to go, why don't you give us our service, not our service department, but our call center a call, and we can guide you to either or both products, and then you can make a decision as to which way you want to go. Baby Bash, sorry if I'm asking too much, but you told me more things already than about 2 years here. Thank you. So not a problem. That's what I'm here for. I like it when we can follow through. So get back in touch with me and let me know what you found. You may have to jog my memory a little bit, but I'd like to hear back from you. All right, guys. 30 minutes. We didn't have any drops. Wow. Well, guys, I am about to get out of here and go load up my track toy and go play at Barber Motorsports Park. And boy, if you ever get near Birmingham, you need to go to their museum there. It is just unbelievable. I think I know we did a short interview with the curator of that museum. And don't just go there with an hour or two. You need to go there with a whole day, because it is either 7 or 8 floors of just hundreds, if not thousands, of motorcycles. I think they have roughly 1,500 of them on display at any given time, so go check it out. Well, I just want to say thank you for dropping in with us, spending a little bit of time, and if you're one of the Partzilla customers, we want to say thank you. Because of you, it makes all of this possible and keeps me employed, which is a good thing. Well, everybody have a great weekend, a great week, and we will see you this coming Thursday at 3, God willing. See you later.